Okay, Bob. You like Bob or Bobby?
Either one's fine.
Either one?
Yeah.
So we were talking about the Matt Walsh. Am I a racist?
Yeah.
And I told you about the lady's name was Whitney. So she walked up and she taps me on my back in the grocery store. She wants to ask me basically if she smiles at me because I'm a black man, does that make her a racist?
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know.
What do you think of that?
I just think that's absolutely off the wall to ask someone that,
Right.
A, and B, to think that way, especially as an adult.
Yeah.
Since when was smiling at people considered like a racial act? You know what I mean? It's a little weird. I can see where they're coming from, I guess, based on that video that you were describing.
Oh, the documentary. Am I a racist?
Yeah.
Yeah, the DEI lady. I think she said something about white guilt, that white people feel guilty internally.
So I can see where they're like, they could piece that together. It's a stretch and a half, but I could see where they would. But to go to a stranger and ask him that is definitely off the wall.
I thought it was courageous of her.
It is
a little bit, because
yeah.
if you're really,
well, she cares. It shows that she actually cares about how she's impacting people around her.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is smart. I mean, that's a good thing. You want to know how you're affecting everyone around you. But I think, if you have a decent head on your shoulders, smiling at someone isn't racist. I mean, come on.
It's impossible.
Yeah, like
how could this be racist?
Yeah, it's the guilt thing makes sense.
You think it does make sense?
I think it does in that context. I don't think that people smiling at you, for example, they're all smiling at you because they feel guilty if they're white. I think that's just maybe you just look like a nice guy. You know what I mean? You're a nice human being to be around. Like, that can be enough to just smile.
For sure.
If you're funny like your brother, I'm sure, you get a lot of people smiling around you. But
yeah. We'd like to make people smile.
But yeah, that's I don't know, man. I would never ask somebody that. I'd never do that. That'd make me way too uncomfortable.
She was bold, though.
Yeah, she's braver than I am. I wouldn't have asked you that, dude.
No way.
I wouldn't have asked you, well, I'm not racist, number one, so I wouldn't have asked you in the first place. But if I smiled at you, I wouldn't have been like, hey, do you feel like I'm being racist or something?
For sure. It's to me, it's a bizarre concept.
It is. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that feel guilty for things that have happened in the past.
Right.
And they feel guilty simply because of the color of the skin, which I think is exactly what people are trying to fight, is that you don't need to feel guilt based on how you look.
Right.
You don't hate a certain people just because of where you're from.
Right.
I think you can develop into your own individual and have your own opinions on, the people that you have in your life. And, it's nice to reassure people like, hey, like this woman, like, no, obviously you're not racist because you're smiling at me.
Right.
Maybe you're just in a good mood.
Exactly.
Or, maybe you think I'm handsome. Something like that. You know what I mean?
I told my wife, like, I don't know, maybe she was flirting with me. I don't know.
She could have been easily, yeah. Well, you said her husband was there?
He wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't there? No. Yeah, hey, keep an eye on you. You know what I mean?
I'm very faithful.
Keep it. I know, bro. I know. Hey, but if you smile at a girl, does that mean you're flirting? Because you could go down this road. If you're smiling at anyone, does it mean one thing or another, or is it just an act of kindness?
I think it's just an act of kindness.
I think so too.
But I think it could be confused.
It can be misinterpreted.
Yeah,
for sure. Which I think she's sort of misinterpreting the way she feels when she asks you that.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I mean, she might come from a generation that, she thinks represents her in a certain way, and I'm not familiar with that. And so maybe she feels inclined to ask you this. And, I just wouldn't, because we come from different backgrounds, possibly. Right. It's hard to tell, but yeah, I definitely, she'll probably remember that for a long time.
I think
you
so.
know what I mean? Especially if it took a little bit of courage. Like,
yeah. One more.
Yeah.
So do you think the term white guilt, is that a real thing?
I do think it is.
Really?
And I don't even think it's just white people. I think there are a lot of other countries that have individuals that are split down the middle. And, as their kids get older, they feel guilty about things that maybe their parents did or their grandparents did. I think that's definitely a thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But at the same time, I don't think you need to be blaming yourself for things that you haven't done. If my great-grandfather was a terrible person and was racist, for example, say that. He wasn't, but maybe. Say he was, right? I don't know. I didn't meet my great-grandfather. But anyways, that doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
And as I develop, and hopefully as things go in the right direction, then you get further and further away from that. And, then you're just not going to get asked these silly questions because people are above it at that point. But, I think we're still at the point right now where there's too many uneducated individuals who don't know how they feel or can't explain how they feel or, their ideas on racism as a whole is a little backwards maybe. But I do think we're moving in the right direction and, just an interesting thing that you went through.
It was very interesting. I was...
Because if you flip it, it seems even more awkward, or maybe not awkward, but a little weird.
Like if I
smile at you, exactly.
Like, hey,
it doesn't even. There's no connection there, right? It doesn't even that doesn't make sense. But at the same time, you don't have the white guilt. Like there's
right.
You know what I mean?
There's no black guilt.
Yeah, you weren't yeah. So, but if you do flip it, it seems even more odd somehow. Mm-hmm. But no, hey man, you put one person's mind at ease. They're going to treat more people with probably even more respect at this point. And hopefully that's a generational thing. And it'll just keep going. And
I think
that's all you can hope for.
What we're doing right now, these dialogues, and to be able to show other people that this is what it's supposed to look like.
Sure.
It's not supposed to be... It's not supposed to be like you have to even be concerned with that type of question.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be on your conscience that, oh man, can I smile at this guy?
Yeah. It's because their perspective's completely wrong. Mm-hmm. When someone sees you, they don't just see a person, they see a black man.
Absolutely.
Which is ridiculous.
Yes.
To even start with. So right off the bat, right in the beginning, there's potential confusion there. Because they're just not even looking at people the way they should. And all you have to do to remedy this, everyone, is simply put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if you were asked this question?
Right.
How would you feel if you were treated this way? And if you actually sympathize or empathize for in this situation, and you do it and you flip it, then everything becomes a lot clearer. And I've always thought that, if I disagree with someone, I try to think about the argument or whatever it is from their perspective as closely as you can. And really, you have to take a minute to do it,
right? Because
you're probably on the other end. And but when you do, you'll open your eyes to a lot of things. And I think it's easy not to be so one-sided and. When you're sort of in a more neutral state, you can think clearer. And yeah, I think that lady just sort of needs to get there. Like she's so unsure about herself and she's an adult.
Right.
Just because of a documentary that she watched, which was educational, great.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it now. I'm going to go home and probably watch it this evening.
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing that I'm not going to take away from this. I'm not going to take away the idea that I need to go inquire as to how I feel about other races and stuff, because
I know you don't.
Yeah, I would like to think most people that watch this didn't do that, but if that's going to put her mind at ease and make her move in the right direction, then you know, you got to experience that with someone.
Yeah,
maybe she's changing. You never know how she was before.
I think it helped her a little bit.
I think so too.
Yeah, it helped her.
Just get a reassurance, even if you know you don't need the reassurance. Kids do this all the time.
Yeah.
They know that they did something good. They ask their parents, "Did I do good?"
Right.
And you reassure them. And it's the same thing with people. You know, she's not a kid anymore, but it's the same mind that she's had growing up. Right. So a lot of her ideas and thought processes are probably similar. And I think that's where you came in and helped in that situation. And
well, I was glad to do that for her.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, because you could have been like, "What are you talking about?" and walked away, or, you know, treated her some type of way.
Instantly been like, "Are you really?"
Yeah, like, why would you ask me that? Yeah.
And there are some, I know some
black guys. It's a bit of a
been like,
yeah,
they could have really reacted differently.
Yeah, of course, because it's not a question that you're typically asked. It's a touchy subject, obviously, and I think when you involve strangers into the picture too, it's not like she was your cousin or something.
No.
It gets a little fishy there, and I can see some people kind of blowing a gasket, but you know, you're not that type of person, so
not at all.
It was fine, but man,
it was wild.
It
was wild.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever experience anything like that, dude.
I don't think so either.
I think it's in the cards.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to talk about it.
Of course, dude. Hey, it's an interesting conversation.
We're great.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree.